What's up, guys? So this video is going to be on the story I posted about Trump, about the taxes. So in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a lot of political ads come out against him and stuff, saying that he's abusing his power to pretty much get money, and he never paid taxes and stuff like that. And like I've always tried to be as fair as possible on this. If he's caught doing something bad, then yeah, he should definitely face all charges, right? Same thing for any politician anywhere. But fair is fair, right? So before we get into the actual taxes and stuff like that, and maybe you'll learn something from this. This is what I've always preached. Yeah, the stock stuff is for fun. I think everybody should have about $2,000-3,000 in the stock market and just play with it. You know, as far as like options go, if you can make a few $100, and long term, if you have $10,000-20,000 invested in solid companies, it's a great way for you to generate wealth. But I always will tell you, a lot of you guys even tell me, oh, if I you've made like 10,000, 20,000 in stocks this year. I'm like, great. Now let's try to protect that money and buy real estate, because the advantages of real estate are tremendous in the long run. Yeah, in the short run, you know, if you buy a property, you put 50 grand down, you're not going to make like Nikola returns like in the beginning where it's going to go up 200-300%, right? Like this is a very long game, but it has a lot of advantages built into it. The real estate end of it. And this is what's kind of gotten in, Trump in trouble right now, or back front and center more in the news than normal. But what I mean by fair is, one of my biggest thing is going to be, if I could ever get a platform to change things in this country, one's going to be is never to have lifetime politicians. I think that's ridiculous. That's not the way that we should be operating as a government. There's no need for somebody to be a congressman, a senator, a city council member, even for decades and decades on end. It's like, hey, you do your thing, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, you contribute to society, you live, breathe, and die, policies, reforms, listen to people, leave your mark on the world, then go back to civilian life. First and foremost, get that out of the way. Second thing is, I don't know if a lot of people know this or not. When they were DMing me, I was like, you guys do realize in 2008, both sides, red and blue, were selling stocks and buying stocks ahead of the financial bailouts. And here's the thing, guys. Politicians are exempt from insider trading. And if you're not sure what insider trading is, it's just pretty much you're trading stocks and bonds and other securities with information that's not available to the public. Okay, so those guys, those politicians, congressmen, senators, they could get away with it. They're not held to the same standards that me and you are. If I had a buddy that worked for Kodak and he's like, hey, guess what? We might be getting a government deal coming up soon. I'm like, oh, really? And I go buy $10,000 worth of Kodak and then I wait for it to bounce up and dump it. I would go to jail. Kind of like what Martha Stewart did when one of her friends, she was in a pharmaceutical company for $50,000 or something like that. And she sold because they said, hey, we're not going to get the FDA approval. She could be held liable. Now, if I was a politician, I can't. So if we're going to hold, people accountable, politicians in particularly, to this, we need to hold it, across the board. Now, Trump's scenario is very unique because, and ethically and morally speaking, it's like, I don't have a problem with anybody that uses the taxes and the laws that are set up in place right now to take as much benefit as you can from it, right? So the article came out and said he's only paid $750 in taxes for, I think, 16, 17, and 18. And it also accused him that, hey, he has had a huge benefit of being president because he was broke, right? And that people were paying him and the shell companies. And that is totally like, yeah, if that's the case, if they could link direct policies or direct moves to payments made from outseas, then yeah, that's what the heck. Heck no, he needs to be definitely out of office. And anyone that does that should be out of office, that uses the political office to further their own gains while they're in office. Now, every single politician, Barack Obama and even Bush and everybody, when they leave, they get paid for all these speeches. They get paid $500,000, $1 million. We kind of know that's kind of like a kickback. Everyone's known that. So it's like, how do we address that too? But that's not the point here. The point here in front and center is these allegations around, Trump and the taxes and stuff like that. Not paying taxes. Guys, here's the thing. When you buy property, the 1031 exchange that I talked about, that's just one benefit, right? When you buy a property, let's say you buy a $100,000 rental, well, you're going to get depreciation on that property throughout time. usually you could extend it out up to 10 years. You could depreciate the whole $100,000 in year one. You don't get the whole benefit, so that's kind of dumb. Nobody would do that because it's not going to get a write-off. I think the most you could get is like 28, 27%. I wouldn't even do that. I usually, whenever I buy real estate, I usually depreciate 20% up front. The rest of the 80%, I'll spread that out over the course of the time, over the 10 years, right? So essentially, I don't have to pay as much on my income tax. Now with Trump, I mean, he's buying properties that I hope to be one day, when I'm like 60 years old, if I'm doing good, 10, 20, $100 million properties. Of course, he's going to get depreciations of 10, 20, $30 million. Now that is just the depreciation on the property side, right? Now, if I were to buy a property like $100,000, rental, and then I go and I dump another $50,000 in because I fixed the roof and I fixed all this and that, and then that also gets depreciation. Oh, it does get depreciation, or depreciated, I should say, over the course of time, which also means like if I had a job that was making 100 grand a year, and I'm usually paying roughly, let's say 20 grand in taxes on that $100,000. I'm like, man, I really don't want to pay this 20 grand in taxes. Like, what can I do to lower this tax bill? Well, investments, such as farms and such as real estate in general are great investment tools to save on the tax end. Like at a farm, if you buy a farm and let's say for the first 5 years you plant a crop and it's not making money, that gets depreciated against the income that you're making on the other end. So this is not like some new blown, oh my God, he's robbing. I mean, this is why I say real estate is the best. Real estate has made more millionaires than any other class, more than stocks, more than bonds, more than businesses for the average person over the course of time. Like if you work a regular job and you could get up to making around 70, 80K, you should be able to save at least 10 to 15K a year. And you get a wife, you guys should be able to save anywhere from 20 to 25K a year. Now, over that course of time, when you're saving that money, if you were to make real estate investments, you guys as a couple, or even you as an individual, you will be a millionaire. I promise you, you will be a millionaire if you were to buy rentals and play the long game, because rents will go up, the property value will go up, your depreciation will offset the income you're making here, which will allow you to invest more. Now, here's the economics behind it, guys. It's like, whoa, like, like he's not paying his fair share. Guys, if I'm saving 20 grand, if I'm saving 30 grand, okay, that's money that I saved. I want to continue to grow. Now, if I go buy a Rolex, if I go buy a Benz or whatever, that money's going back into taxes because those purchases I make are paying taxes. Then I'm going to have less depreciation, so my income will get taxed again. Now, on the flip side, if I take that 20 grand, that 30 grand, whatever I saved on taxes, I go buy another property, yeah, I'm going to end up paying way more less in taxes. I'm saving even more money. But here's the thing. Am I not making other people's lives better? Of course I am, right? Like, let's just stick with this example of real estate. If I continue to buy property in areas that aren't like the areas that are depreciated, right, that nobody wants to touch, and I'm like, oh no, I see potential there because it's cheap enough, and I buy it for 50 and I put 50 into it and I put $100,000 in my money and I get depreciation along the way. Well, that's another house that another family is going to be able to live in. Who's going to fill that void? This is all these little micro transactions that are done across the land, which allows everybody to benefit from it. So on the economic standpoint, capital only gets returned back to people that know how to use capital the best, right? So let me give you an example. Like, let's say you won the lottery. Let's say you won $1 million. Okay, you got a huge head start. You won on a scratcher, whatever. If you were to just go out and buy a bunch of gold chains and buy a Benz, buy a house and be like, oh, I'm kicking it, baby. I don't got to worry about nothing, man. I'm straight. I mean, eventually you're going to go broke because you're not spending that money to really make any money. But then if you take that $1 million and you were to go buy, let's say, a $5 million apartment complex, right? Okay, now you're going to save heck of money on those taxes, right? Because the $1 million that you won, you're probably going to end up paying $0 in taxes because of the property that you bought. That's going to be able to depreciate, right? Then the money you're making off of that, if you deny yourself gratification of nice things, take that money, invest it into other things, like you buy another rental, then now you have another family that's being able to flourish. Or you go halfsies on another property with somebody who's going to open a restaurant, or you take that and you put it into a startup or whatever. You get what I'm saying? The economics of the thing grow. And of course, you're going to get more money back because you've proven to the world and society as a whole that you know what you're doing with money. Money is coming back to you because you're spending money in the correct manner. You're making your money grow. You're contributing to society. You've created a restaurant. You've bought an apartment complex. You've made it better. You've taken the excess capital that's returned to you and you reinvested it and made the community even more better. That's just how capital works, guys. So, like, now on an ethical standpoint, like, if Trump has in the clear guidelines, like if he really only paid $750 in income tax, but it's because he had so much tax credit and he's continuing, and his company that's not being ran by him right now, it's supposedly being ran by his son, is continuing to generate money. I mean, that's not illegal at all. I don't, as a citizen, I don't really feel bad for it at all, because eventually what happens is, let's say he doesn't pay anything, and then, you know, that property eventually is going to get passed down to his son or his daughter or whoever, the company as a whole. And if they decide to ever sell it to buy something nice, or if they decide to just part ways with it, then we are, like, as citizens, as United States citizens, we are going to get a piece of those taxes. Not to mention, eventually there's only so much you could do with the property when you get to his level. Eventually he will have to pay, taxes on it. It's going to come back to us. But in the short term, people around that community are getting the absolute most benefit from it, right? Because really this is just a redistribution, right? The money has to go somewhere. So it's either it's a way of a government saying, we're going to let you keep this cash. We're going to let you depreciate this. And in order for you to continue to get that depreciation, you got to continue to invest in America. You got to continue to build America. You got to continue to, put up a new apartment complexes. You got to continue to invest in new businesses. Otherwise, if that money sits there, and you continue to make a lot of money on the other end, and you're not investing, you're not getting any depreciation, you're not getting any tax credits. Well, then it's like, okay, well, you're not spending the money in a proper way. So we're going to tax this. We're going to take this and we're going to redistribute it to programs or the general fund or whatever it's going to be. That's basically economically how it works, right? And for me, I mean, I've listened to a lot of like way smarter people than I have, and when it comes to economic theory and stuff, and it goes on both ends, right? I'm not saying that this model is 100% right, but essentially the key factor is if you tax somebody so much, you take away the incentive, and you actually incentivize them to hire more lawyers and find loopholes. If it was just a 15% tax or 10% tax, I'm sure a lot more people would pay. But guys, overall majority is the top 1% do pay majority of the taxes in this country. They do. But also these tax codes and these benefits are also available to people like me and you if we take the right decisions in life, if we save money the right way, and we know about these things and we take advantage of them. So is Trump wrong for only having to pay $750 for those couple of years? Okay, well, is Amazon wrong for paying $0 and they're a multi-billion-dollar company? No, they also took separate types of credits or tax credits, right? Is Elon Musk's Tesla wrong for taking a tax credit for selling EV cars? Should they have to reimburse that and pass that on to the consumer? I mean, that's a very, you can't just be mad at somebody because they took advantage of a law that was in place. Now, if there's embezzlement and if there's lying, if there's cheating involved in that, it's not like fair game. Like, here's the law and you're trying to operate outside of the law. Well, then, yeah, of course, dude, you're going to get fined. You're going to get caught. I mean, it's only a matter of time that it's going to catch up with you. But if you're doing everything in the right size and scope, this is just a political hit piece. And once people figure out that, oh, this isn't the law, this is whatever, this is just people trying to throw dirt at another person, assassinate their character, it's just making them stronger. And this is the most confusing part to me about this whole political election is, instead of trying to attack, and Trump does this too to Biden with this cognitive ability or whatever, and the Biden campaign does it to Trump with these taxes and whatever. Instead of trying to attack each other and look at how he looks, look what he's doing. Dude, how about you guys both just lay down policies for us and say, if I'm elected or if I'm reelected president, this is my plan. This is what I want to do to make your life better. And you as a voter, that's what you need to really focus on, one way or the other. It's going to play out. My voice doesn't really matter. Our voices as a collective matter. And we just have to pay attention to past all this of just, trying to assassinate the character. It's like, who is going to give us and our family the best chance to better our lives in the next 4 years? So I hope this kind of shed light. There's a lot to talk about. I only have 15 minutes on a video, but hey guys, please share this, help me grow the account. And if you have comments and questions, DM me or comment here. So appreciate you guys' time.